Before we get into the mechanics, it's important to understand the stakes. During the Cold War, vast stretches of the Arctic were considered potential battlegrounds. NATO and Soviet planners both knew that if aircraft went down or patrols were cut off in subzero environments, survival would depend on minutes, not days. Matches failed, lighters froze, fuel thickened, fingers lost dexterity. The problem wasn't lighting a fire in calm weather. The problem was starting one when the wind was violent, moisture was constant, and temperatures killed exposed skin in minutes. What emerged from this pressure was a fire-starting method designed not for comfort, but for inevitability. It worked wet, frozen, and under stress. Soldiers trusted it because it kept working when everything else stopped. Cold War survival doctrine treated fire as a mechanical problem, not a convenience. Military survival manuals from the 1950s onward stopped treating fire as something you coax gently into existence. Fire was treated like a system. You needed heat generation that ignored wind, moisture, and numb hands. The solution was magnesium-based ignition paired with ferrocerium spark generation, a combination that replaced friction and flame with chemistry and physics. Magnesium burns at temperatures exceeding 3,000 degrees Celsius. That heat doesn't care about wind chill or damp tinder. Ferrocerium rods throw sparks hot enough to ignite metal shavings instantly, even when the rod itself is frozen. This wasn't improvised bushcraft. It was standardized, tested, and issued. Why magnesium and ferrocerium outperform matches in Arctic conditions? Matches fail for simple reasons. The heads absorb moisture, the sticks snap in cold, and wind robs heat faster than friction can generate it. Magnesium doesn't rely on sustained flame. Once ignited, it creates its own environment. Even snow can't extinguish it easily. Ferrocerium doesn't need warmth. It only needs pressure and movement. A steel striker scraping a rod produces a shower of sparks regardless of temperature. In Arctic kits, magnesium was often cast into blocks or bars with a ferro rod embedded along one edge. Soldiers shaved magnesium curls using a knife spine, creating a pile that could ignite instantly. This method worked even when gloves were partially on and fine motor control was gone. The system worked because it reduced steps under stress. One of the most overlooked aspects of Cold War survival gear is how it accounted for panic and physical failure. Fine motor skills disappear quickly in cold shock, you know. Anything that required precision was rejected. Magnesium fire starting reduced the process to 3 actions: shave material, strike sparks, shield briefly. That was it. Even if the magnesium shavings scattered, a single spark could still catch a fragment. Once ignition occurred, the fire was violent enough to dry damp kindling immediately. Soldiers were trained to introduce fuel gradually, letting the magnesium do the heavy lifting at the start. How this method was actually used in real Arctic survival scenarios. Downed aircrew training reports from the era repeatedly mention fire started in snow pits, behind packs, or using bodies as windbreaks. Magnesium allowed ignition without pre-drying tinder. Crews could light a fire beside frozen spruce, green willow, or damp ration wrappers. The heat output bought time. Once a flame existed, insulation and shelter followed. This wasn't theoretical. It was practiced repeatedly in Alaska, northern Canada and Scandinavia. Cold weather instructors emphasized that the fire starter should never be separated from the body because body heat preserved dexterity and prevented ice buildup. How modern survivalists can apply the same Cold War logic today? The lesson isn't to copy military kits blindly. The lesson is understanding why the system worked. Fire starting should not depend on environmental cooperation. Modern campers still rely heavily on lighters and matches that fail under stress. A magnesium ferro system weighs almost nothing, never degrades, and functions after decades in storage. So, to apply this knowledge practically, you'll want to keep the fire starter accessible, not buried somewhere you can't reach. It's a good idea to practice shaving magnesium while wearing gloves, not with bare hands. Also, learn how much material is actually required, so you don't end up wasting precious time. Pair the ignition with simple, bulky fuel rather than delicate tinder. The Cold War approach, always favoured reliability over elegance. Why did this method quietly disappear from civilian awareness? Well, as lighter technology improved and outdoor recreation began to shift toward comfort, magnesium fire starting was labelled primitive rather than resilient. It never really vanished from military use, but it did leave popular culture. Convenience, in a way, replaced redundancy. The Cold War mindset assumed failure was normal. Modern gear, on the other hand, assumes success is the default, and that, honestly, is exactly what Arctic survival punishes. The deeper lesson Cold War survival still teaches is this. This method wasn't really about fire. It was about designing systems that work when humans don't. Cold, fear, injury and exhaustion were expected variables. The fire starter, well, it compensated for all of them. That's why it succeeded. Understanding this technique isn't just nostalgia. It's a reminder that some problems don't need smarter solutions. They need harder ones. If you value forgotten survival knowledge, historical systems that actually worked, and lessons modern gear still hasn't improved on, make sure to subscribe to the channel and share this video with someone who cares about real-world preparedness. Some knowledge survives because it deserves to.